Alright, shalom, and welcome once again to GMS Info Doc channel. I'd like to say Barakateh Yahweh.
Barakateh Yahweh.
Barakateh Yahweh Shai.
Barakateh Yahweh Shai.
Today's lesson, as you brothers already know, is a continuation from the series that we've been doing on the historical proofs of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. You know, we're just going to continue on with this lesson in this series because, you know, we're at the time now, like we've been saying, that the so-called Native American Indian and the so-called Latin tribes are waking up, you know, to finding out that they're Israelites. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the scriptures, bring out scriptures, we're going to bring out more proofs in history of different documents and observations that people have made over the years to show you beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Latin tribes and the so-called Native American Indian tribes are Israelites.
Right.
Know? Indeed.
Because if I may say, because you got Beelzebub out here, right, messing with us, but they ain't gonna hinder the word from going out. But anyway, you got a lot of people that act like they don't know that the Latin and the Native American Indian tribes are part of the House of Israel. Now you got a lot of these so-called scholars. You know where a lot of their research go back to? Yeah. Go right back to the Bible. Oh, it goes right back to the Bible. That's how they're able to trace them, and then they did what we're doing. Right. You know what I'm saying? They traced the history of the 12 tribes and where they went. Yep. Then they located them as these Indian tribes, and then they linked up the different customs and ceremonies and ways of life that they were doing. Not right. Adopted, that they were doing naturally, and then that's how they was able to link them into the 12 tribes.
Right, that's why anytime they make a documentary, they'll speak about the Moabites and the Japanese, you know, the Ammonites, and certain African people, and certain Scandinavians and other so-called white people as being Israelites. The 10 lost tribes of Israel, and then they'll show you people down in Africa and people in China and Japan and all that, even though you have Israelites scattered among all those nations, you know, but that's what they'll show you, you know, and those are the main things that they push out, like in the Discovery Channel and other channels like that. Why? Because of the fact that they know the truth, but they got to push out lies, and now that this truth has been going on for so long, that's why they're pushing out more and more lies, you know, and the closer we get to the end and to the tribes waking up, the more lies they're going to keep bringing up.
That's right. Now, if I may say, now that's why the devil that basically brought or started slavery here in the Americas, which is Christopher Columbus, he's an integral part of this whole thing.
Right.
Because he took a bunch of Tainos and sent them back to Spain as slaves.
On ships.
On ships, before they brought the Negroes from Spain here to the Americas and throughout the islands first.
That's right.
So he was basically the progenitor of slavery in the Americas, Christopher Columbus. Now, another thing that a lot of these people negate. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Say what you got.
Now, just hold on to that one thought. I just want to, because he mentioned Columbus, you know, and he mentioned them bringing the slaves over here. They show you that in their series, The Borgias. They had one section where they show you the Taino slave. He was chained up and brought before King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. Now, not only Columbus, but his son Diego Columbus, he was bringing slaves back and forth to Europe. So I just wanted to plug that point in. But go ahead, brother.
Right, and a lot of these niggas who talk shit, you know, you Yishmen, I'm gonna call you the Yishmen. The Yishmen that are out there that are talking shit, you know, the Yishmen. One thing you negate is you negate the book of Esdras. You don't even, you know what? You used the book of Esdras when you did your little bullshit video about Bantus, about the descendants of the 12 tribes are all black, Bantus, whatever bullshit. And I'm gonna strike you with that shit. But now, one thing you always negate is the book of Esdras, the 13th chapter. Now, the bastard who progenerated slavery among the Indians here in the Americas was Columbus. Now, in this book here, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, Ronald Sanders, by the way, Ronald Sanders, you know, the brother put it in there in post-production. On page 77, he says this: all his life, Columbus's ideas about geography were permeated with a peculiar religious mysticism. He kept a book of prophecies in which he collected quotations, mostly from the Bible. like Elder Manatazak was saying, most of the information these people get goes back to the Bible anyway.
Yep.
Now it says, often these dealings with isles far off that seem to prophesy his own discoveries. Now, there was a book that he kept with him. It says his personal copy still is in existence today, of Pierre de Ali's Imago Mundi. Now, it says here, a striking element in Columbus's geographical religiosity is his intense and abiding interest in the fourth or second book of Esdras. The two apocryphal books of Esdras purport to be additional writings by and about Old Testament Ezra. So Columbus had a fascination with the book in the Apocrypha known as the Book of Ezra. And in the Book of Ezra, it tells you about how the 10 tribes came over here.
Right. That's right. And I got the account.
And they show you that in that movie 1492, or Conquest 1492.
That's right.
With Gerard Depardieu.
Who played Columbus, by the way.
Right. And he met with that friar or that monk or whatever the hell he was. And the monk was asking him, what makes you so sure that there's land over to this side, you know, of whatever, however many leagues or however you count that, you know, the seas, you know, chart, you know, how they're charted out, you know. And he told him, he said Tuscanelli, somebody else, he said Esdras.
Esdras, that's right.
And then the guy said Esdras is a Jew.
There is a third way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
How can you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So they already knew that there was common knowledge that you had Israelites and you had land over here.
Yeah.
It wasn't a new thing.
Right. And as a matter of fact, since this brother Elder Ramla mentioned that, would you hold this for me? Now, since Elder Ramla mentioned that, I'm going to bring out something out this book called World Explorer Magazine. Right? Now, this brother Elder Ramla made mention about, you know, in the beginning of the movie when they spoke about Esdras and this and that. Now, there's a point in here I want to read about the guy who, this is the guy who financed Columbus and for the Nina, the Pinta,
right,
and the Santa Maria.
And they were so-called Jews.
That's right.
That's where he got his money from, so-called Jews. Because
right.
he was a so-called Jew.
That's right.
But while the elders get now, I'm going to read this real quick. This is Revelation chapter 20, verse 7. It says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Now that 1,000-year period was from the time of beginning. It was starting around 193 AD when the Roman Empire started slowly switching hands until Jake, but it really didn't come into full force until 325 AD when they had Constantine and those other so-called church fathers that basically switched, you know, on the record, you know, not behind the scenes, but on the record, they switched from the pagan Roman Empire to the Holy Roman Empire, which it was nothing but the unholy pagan Roman Empire anyway. And that's when Rome fell completely to Israel. Now, from that point on, for 1,000 years, Esau was pretty much, he was a slave. You know, he was really pretty much had a gag on him. That's what that chain represents that Yahweh Shai had. So it says, and he was bound for 1,000 years. After like around 1325 and up, that's when he really started getting loose.
And the icon that proves that is an icon called a Day in the King's Court.
Right. Yeah.
Which is between that time period, which depicts Jake's so-called Negroes ruling under the you know, the Roman Empire, whatever, with so-called white people, Edomites, as slaves.
That's right.
They were basically they were judging them and chumping up charges on them, whatever. It's called a Day in the King's Court, and that's what we was doing to these devils. That's why today, now that they're in power, that's why they do the same thing to Jake.
That's right.
You know, because they were basically put under subjection. Those chains was put on them.
That's right.
All right.
And I'll just finish up here. It says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Yep. And he was loosed. He wasn't in an actual prison. the Most High just put a seal on him so he couldn't lie anymore to people. That's why when you read the first verse on down, it says, matter of fact, I read the third verse. It said, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. Because everybody knows that from the beginning, Esau was nothing but a deceiver and a liar. It says, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. Now verse 7, and when that 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. So that's why from beginning with the Renaissance, which is around the mid to late around the mid 1300s on up, that's when they started to lie about everything, about history, about the black images all throughout Europe, you know, which were Israelites, you know, all those different, iconoclasm and all those different paintings that they changed. And then when you come further up, you know, basically what they've done is they've erased and burnt up the records and history of who the people that were on this side of the world are or were. You know, so that's why there's really not that many records left of them. But the Lord put the spirit on certain men, like Lord Kingsborough, you know, which was a scholar that collected all those records that the Europeans kept, you know, which are the Edomites, that they kept of Israel, and we have them today. So go ahead, brother, you got that? No. And then other records like this are brought out because this also helps further the proof that the people that are here are Israelites. We don't give a damn what none of you guys say.
Right.
The records are there. You know, the scriptures are there and the records are there. That's right. You know, so if you have a problem with it, then take it up with the Most High.
Right.
Kill yourself.
Yeah.
Now it says here in this book, World Explorer magazine, Far Out Adventures, the article is by Mr. W.R. Anderson. It says here, the Christopher Columbus that we all learned about in school may have been an entirely different sort of person than we are taught. It is possible that Columbus knew perfectly well that he would reach a new world, rather than China.
He knew perfectly well. It wasn't no probability. They knew it. They know it. Go ahead.
He knew he would reach a new world rather than China, as he told the Spanish royalty. Columbus was a fascinating person, and the more one studies this incredible man, the more fascinating he becomes, which he was a low-life piece of shit.
He was a faggot.
It says, the man who sailed in 1492 for the New World was a mystic and an adventurer, a utopian idealist, and man of great courage and vision. It says, despite the popular school depiction, there is a great deal of evidence that Columbus was not actually Italian, but a Spaniard who had assumed the identity of a young Italian wool merchant whom the Spaniard had once met and who had died at sea. By coincidence, the young Italian wool merchant from Genoa had the same name as himself, at least in translation. Cristobal Colon, known to us as Columbus, was by some evidence a Spanish Jew. For this reason, he decided to conceal his identity. Also, he was in possession of several maps that showed the coasts and islands of North and South America.
And there was this one guy, I forget his name. I just looked it up. I was just reading it either today or yesterday. I forgot his name. But Christopher Columbus married into his family. So the guy gave Christopher Columbus his daughter in marriage, and as a token of the father, you know, for the marriage union, the father gave him a bunch of navigational maps that he had, which were old maps, and that might very well be where he got those maps to this side of the world.
Now, there's something else I want to read in. Now, I read that part. Now, I'm going to flip the page and get a little bit more information. Now, it says here on page 138. Now, this is dealing with page 138 and 139. Now, this is dealing with the guy who actually financed them and got the ships for him. His name was Martin Alonso Pinzon, a wealthy ship owner of Palos. Pinzon was responsible for Colon's acquisition of the Nina, the Pinta, and the hiring the crew for the expedition. It says in the series of lawsuits, I'm skipping down. It says in the series of lawsuits recorded, it was disclosed that Colon had access to the Vatican archives. Now, in order for you to have access to the Vatican archives, you got to be juiced in.
Right.
Not anybody can get to the Vatican archives.
Right. You can't even get there today.
You can't even get there today. You have to have special clearance to get into the Vatican archives. Now, showing that Columbus was juiced in.
Right.
Now, how the hell he had access to the Vatican archives? Not any regular person can go up in the Vatican and go in their archives.
Right. And Columbus basically, what, you know, in Columbus time, Columbus would be known, what later became known in the 1500s.